Alright, children, I'm going to run you through a few of these problems real quick. First, we're going to start with number 1. Assume an economy is in a deep recession. Identify a point on the graph labeled A that corresponds to an economy in a deep recession. So, first thing we're going to do is actually draw our graph. Remember, it's bowed outward because it is showing that we are experiencing increasing opportunity costs for both products. On your assignments, whenever it doesn't tell you what goods you're going to be used, I want you to use capital goods and consumer goods. So I'm going to put up here capital goods on the x-axis, and then on the y-axis we have consumer goods. Alright, this is an economy in a deep recession. Anywhere on this curve is going to be an efficient point of production. So that means that anything that is inside this curve is inefficient. And during a recession, we're experiencing high unemployment, and so our economy is being inefficient. All right, I'm going to move on to number 2. All right. On this one, we were supposed to label one axis cars and one axis trucks. So I will do that real quick. It didn't tell us where to put which one, and honestly, it really doesn't matter, even if you put it in the quote-unquote wrong spot. So we have cars and trucks, and all this one wanted to show you, or all this one wanted you to show it, was that we were showing a decision to produce more cars. So I just picked a random place to start, and now we're going to increase our car production. So we're moving still along the curve, we're still remaining efficient, but now we're just making more cars and fewer trucks. And so your opportunity cost is however many trucks you've given up to produce this many cars. And I guess if you wanted to be more specific, you could show that the dot moved that way to the left along the curve. Next, we have number 3. Number 3 is asking for you to show the effect of an increase in worker productivity. So first, we got to redraw our graph. And we got capital and consumer goods. And then we're talking about worker productivity. Productivity means how productive we are, how good or efficient at our jobs we are. So if we increase worker productivity, then what we're actually looking at is we're looking at each individual worker becoming more productive, aka getting better at doing their job. And if that happens, then the whole curve is going to shift to the right, and they're going to be able to make more of everything. A couple reasons this could have happened. You could have had an increase in education. Maybe all of these workers now have this new technical training that allows them to be more efficient. Or it could just be an increase in capital goods or technology. Maybe now you have machines that allow each worker to produce twice as much as they used to. Let's look at numero 4. Show correctly labeled graph, blah, blah, blah. See how an economy could increase its production of capital goods while not giving up, while not experiencing any opportunity costs. So again, I'm going to pick a random point. We're going to start here. That's A. If we were to increase our production of capital goods, if we started building more capital goods, we would move up to the left here and now be making more capital goods. We are experiencing opportunity costs here. We are making fewer consumer goods as we add capital goods. So we can't move along the curve. The only way to achieve this is to actually increase the production of both goods. We would need a whole shift of the curve to the right. And if the curve shifted to the right, then we would be able to increase our production of capital goods while at the same time experiencing no opportunity costs. We're not losing out on any consumer goods. And that question said that there were 2 ways to do this, so I will show you the other way real quick. The other way this could have happened is if maybe they became more efficient at producing just capital goods. Maybe they had some sort of machine that allowed them to make tractors and trucks and stuff, but not make more food and magazines and stuff like that. So what you would have is just a shift to the right in just the production of capital goods. We will see that in the future on an assignment. Next, we have number 5. Illustrate your graph. All right, I'll set it up again. Oh my god. Alright, we're going to illustrate this graph, and we're going to show the short run and long run impact on a decision in an economy to decrease consumption spending and increase investment. Okay, so first, consumption spending done by consumers. So if we're decreasing our consumption spending, that short run immediate impact is that we're no longer buying these consumer goods, so businesses aren't going to make them, and so we're going to move to the left along this curve. At the same time, there we're increasing our investment spending. Businesses do investment spending in order to buy capital goods. That's what investment spending is. And then think about this too. If we're not buying consumer goods, people like you and me, we're generally going to leave that money in the bank. And when that money goes into the bank is going to loan it out. And most of the groups that are going to be taking out these loans are going to be businesses buying capital goods so they can invest in the future. Now, this is a short run effect. We went from producing this many capital goods to now we're producing less because no one's buying them. We're producing less consumer goods because no one's buying them. We're producing more capital goods, and now the long run effect. Now that we're buying new machines this year, next year we're going to be able to make more of everything, because once those machines go into place, we'll have an increase in our productive capacity. We have an increase in capital that allows us to produce more of everything. I got 2 more to do real quick. We got number 6. All right, show an increase of corporate taxes. Corporate taxes are paid by corporations, and a corporation is just a fancy word for a business. So I'll pick a random point to start it again. We'll call that A. If we raise taxes on businesses, they might buy fewer capital goods. And so as they buy fewer capital goods, we'll go more toward consumer goods. That's not the end of it though. If this year businesses are buying fewer capital goods, that means next year they're not going to have as many capital goods in place to produce goods and services. We're either not going to grow, or the economy might even shrink and shift to the left because of something called depreciation. Capital goods are machines that are used to make other things. Depreciation occurs when machines start to break down due to wear and tear. So the amount of stuff that one machine can make this year isn't going to be equal to what it makes next year. It's not going to be able to make as many things. So as businesses aren't buying capital goods, they're also not fixing their old machines or replacing machines that break. And so next year we might not be able to produce as much. And then finally, we got number 7. Okay, this one's confusing to all the children. All right, first and foremost, number 7, in 1929, think about what was happening in the world. I know most of you are going to jump right to the Great Depression, but don't get a little ahead of yourself. The Great Depression didn't start until almost November. It was the end of the year. So let's say March 1929. I would say everything is wonderful. Then, in 1933, what's happening? We're in the midst of the Great Depression. We're like right in the middle of it. So we are going to be in here. We're in a recession. The Great Depression, or a depression, is just a really prolonged, terrible recession. Forget the word depression for the rest of the year. We're talking about recessions. All right, now, 1942, we're in the middle of World War II. Before the U.S. gets involved in World War II, we were providing and building and making cars, bombs, trucks, planes for all the countries that were in the middle of the war. They didn't necessarily have the people available to be producing these goods, and a lot of their factories were literally getting bombed. And so we were doing pretty all right. I would accept 2 different answers here. You could have said that 42 got us back out of the recession or out of the Great Depression and back to full productive capacity. Or you could even shift the whole curve to the right and say, not only did we get out of the recession, we actually grew our economy during this time. Hooray! You are now done.